Hi everyone, I'm Shireen.
And I'm Abby, and welcome to the Realistic Backpackers podcast.
We met while travelling Southeast Asia, and now she can't get rid of me.
For years, we've made travel our entire personality, and now it's time to share it with you too.
So join us as we bring you into our world while keeping it as realistic as possible.
This is your weekly dose of travel tips and tricks.
And this week, we're going to be talking all about backpacking Europe.
So please like, subscribe, and share us on your socials. Let's
get into it. Hello, how are you?
I'm surviving, not thriving, but we're getting there.
Oh, hold on, the desk is moving. Wait.
Are you okay?
Hello, this desk in this room that I'm in. Oh my god, no, stop. It's a standing desk and I just hit the button and now it's going up and down. And I can't stop it. Hold on, I need to plug it out. Wait.
Tell me something that's more on brand for this podcast.
Let's try. I'm leaving that in, by the way, definitely for the YouTube.
Obviously.
Let's try that again. Hello, how are you?
Should we start with you? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm actually thriving. You know what? I'm good. I've basically what day is it today that we're recording? Wednesday. Monday, Tuesday, and this morning and Sunday and Saturday. Yeah. I've been up at 5 to surf.
Yeah, I feel like we've got a bit of role reversal going on. Because obviously I've been sick, so I haven't been getting up till late, and you've been getting up really early, and I've been like, I'm not sure.
So, but the problem is the last couple of days I've not been getting to sleep early, so I'm averaging about 6 hours.
That's more and then I'm like for you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. I'll get up early, but I've not slept the night before, whereas at least you go to sleep early, so you actually get the decent hours of sleep. I don't do that. And then basically I'm working on this big project for work, so that I have to get finished by the end of this week because I'm traveling for 3 days next week to get home. And so basically then I've been in my co-working space from 9 till about 7.
Excellent.
Yeah. So am I?
I'm so intrigued as to what this new project is, guys. Shireen hasn't even told me.
Oh, no. That's a different. Sorry. So I'm actually working on 2 projects. That's my issue. Sorry. So yeah. So I'm working on two projects. One for my business, and then one for a client.
Fair.
So the one for my business is also taking up a lot of time, but doesn't have to be finished by this weekend. But the launch project for a client needs to be finished by this weekend. So, yeah. Basically, I've lost my mind, is what I'm trying to say. Because you know what the problem is, and do you know when you work and then you need that decompression time?
Yeah, you don't get
my issue. No, because by the time I eat, I need to then be asleep because I need to get up at 5 to surf. So that decompression time just turns into me lying in bed, tossing and turning. And obviously, in case you guys haven't noticed, I'm fueled on caffeine.
So you're basically telling me you're living the F1 every day at the minute?
Yeah, basically.
Excellent.
But I guess but I mean, it's fine. It's only for this week, so. Because, all I do is complain about being burnt out. So I might as well, my last bit of traveling for the next, till September, so I might as well go out with a fucking bang,
And as we always say, do not travel like Abby and Shireen.
Correct. Other funny thing that happened today. So my co-working space is quite cute in that it organizes it. It's very big on community, which is really, really nice. It's called Coco Space, by the way. So if you're ever in Shargown working, highly recommend. Anyway, so they do just lots of different things to get everybody together. And every day they have a lunch. Everybody has lunch at the same time, basically. If you want to.
Cute.
Right. So anyway, I was having lunch today, and one of the women that was sitting beside me, we were just chatting. I don't know how we were talking about Christmas anyway, and she was talking about the Christmas that she spent in Afghanistan. So obviously, immediately, I'm like, what do you do? Because she's here at the moment studying for the bar. So I was like, yeah. So I was like, what do you do? So she works in humanitarian aid.
Oh,
and she
wow.
was stationed in Afghanistan. I'm not sure when this was. Like, it wasn't just this Christmas just gone. So anyway, we
Yeah.
were just like talking about that, and then she like you know, she was kind of talking about a few other things that she does, and she was like, "What do you do again?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I work in social media." And you're out here
Don't
literally
put
saving
yourself
the
down like that. Don't put yourself
you're
down
out
like that.
you're out here literally saving the world, and here I am doing my. I literally said to her, I was like laughing, and I was like me just like on my phone doing my little edits while and like everybody is co-working spaces because I'm a software developer, so everybody's like coding or studying for the bar, and here's me at my little phone like editing my my little reel.
And we wonder why people don't think our job is real.
That's what I said. I said it's so funny. I mean, this week again hasn't been as bad because there's been a lot of heavy laptop work, but like I'm like I swear I spend more time. Like obviously I because also I don't have a Mac. I edit on my phone, not on my laptop. So anyway, so
Same.
she works in humanitarian uh, in humanitarian aid, which then got me to think on my next thought. Can you tell I'm fueled with caffeine today? Um,
Hmm.
which brought me to my next thought. How did you get into that? Because I feel like I would love that.
Do you know what? Not gonna lie, this is something that I've thought about for honestly years. Do you not remember when Gaza had like maybe just kicked off and we were sat in a bus terminal in
Oh yeah.
Mexico? Basically, guys, we were meant to get this like lift through this app and it like fell through. So then we ended up sat at this bus terminal till I don't know what time of the morning waiting for a bus. And obviously I fell down the rabbit hole of like what's going on in Gaza because it just kicked off maybe like 4 months before. And
Yeah, because this would have been like
um
January 2024.
yeah, and so then I started researching into how I could work in humanitarian aid with my skills. And MSF, which is one of like the big aid organizations, or is basically like Doctors Without Borders. So they send doctors and nurses into like war zones or like places that need support. And first of all, I set up a direct debit to pay them monthly to the charity, which I still to this day pay. And
Correct.
second
Correct.
of all, like I was looking and they had actually a social media management job or like marketing manager job at the time, and I was like, oh my god, I could do this. But obviously we were sat in Mexico and maybe not the right time. But
That's fair.
I think about because actually having said this, this could be quite a good one because I have one of my mum's best friends works for MSF, and we could maybe get her on to talk about what she's
Yeah,
been doing.
that would be so cool
Um,
because I genuinely would like feel like I would love to. I don't know. Maybe see. Maybe that's what. Maybe that's the divine inspiration I've been looking for a while. You know.
yeah, I guess like obviously we just wouldn't be able to travel like we do now, and it's like maybe that could be a later in life activity for us. I don't know.
Yeah, potentially. Obviously, again, my other big issue with kind of anything like that is like, how safe
Yes,
is it as an Iranian to do? Like,
yes,
are they going to try kill me? You know?
yeah. Well, but
So I
you get
obviously,
sent straight into the camps, so like this is
yeah, but
MSF specifically.
still, yeah, but like still, like depending on the country, it wouldn't necessarily be safe for me to even be in the country.
To even fly in, yeah, absolutely
Do you know
valid.
what I mean?
Because I know she's worked in places where the like life expectancy like of leaving the camp for a male is like 33 minutes. Yeah,
Like where?
I can't remember what country that was, but she's been to like Sudan, Afghanistan. She's about to
Yeah.
go to Gaza. Like
Well,
she's been
because
to all over.
this woman, she was saying again, like, because you know, when you're kind of like, I'm a bit like, oh, like, I don't know how many questions I can ask you, because like, you're
Yeah,
not offering the information. Anyway, she had
yeah.
basically said, so I'll just tell the whole podcast. So she basically said that, so she, no, 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 she was basically saying that she was on this like 18-month, pretty intense assignment. She didn't say where. And
Okay.
then she was basically like that finished up in December, and then she was gonna basically take 6 months off because she's studying for the bar. And but then she basically got offered this like 7 week dream position somewhere,
Mm.
or no, not dream probably the right word, like really desirable or something that she couldn't say no
Hmm.
to. So she was shipped out for 7 weeks, and then that was finished. And I
Wow.
was just like, yeah, obviously I'm like, well, but where? But like
I
she didn't offer the
know.
information, so I didn't want to ask.
Fair. But it's like, do you remember that guy that we met on that boat in Oman who was like, had to come
In
from like
Kabul.
Kabul?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you remember the really funny thing there was when I said that after Oman or wherever I was going to Iran, and he panicked, and I was like, "Mate, you're literally stationed in Kabul, and
I know.
you're like,
But
what
that's
about
like my
going to Iran?"
dad. That's like
Do you
my
know?
dad.
Which I just think is so
So
funny.
yeah, it is interesting. I guess it's dependent on the line of work you work in here.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately.
Um,
Unfortunately.
but that's it. Anyway, that's me, and that's my update. How are you?
Okay. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I've been sick as a dog for about a week, but it's okay. Um, I sent a picture of me to Shireen on Monday, and she said it was the worst she's ever seen me.
And that says something, guys, because I've seen her in some pretty bad states. Because we were supposed to record, and then Abby sent me that photo, being like, "Hey, can we like not do this today?" And I was like, "Jesus Christ."
Whereas I'm looking a bit healthier today, guys, so that's good. So yeah, that's been happening. Oh, I went and watched my sister run a marathon on Sunday.
Oh yeah, she did Brighton, right?
Yeah.
That's so
Um,
cool.
and I turned it into a road trip with my parents, which was actually so nice.
Did you just go up and
Um,
down for in the day?
no. So we left on Friday and went to like Lyme Regis, which is like maybe like just under 2 hours away from Dartmouth, which like we were all saying in the car, like it's just insane that we just don't go to places along the coast because they're not even that far away. So yeah, we went to Lyme Regis and then stayed near. My parents had two honeymoons near where they had one of their honeymoons
Yeah,
on
okay.
Chesil Beach. Yeah, just leave
We're,
it
we're,
on.
we're just gonna let that one go, to be honest, guys.
Yeah. Near Chesil Beach. So we stayed there, which was so cute. And I literally walked in and I was like, this is literally my perfect setup. So I like have now my parents can envisage now the place I want to buy, if that makes sense. So that was helpful. So yeah, stayed there, and then Saturday we went to Lowell Cove and Duddle Door, which neither of my parents had actually ever been to, and I hadn't been since school, so that was really cool. And so interestingly, for anybody who knows like what Duddle Door is, guys, there were so many Asian tourists, like specifically like Indian. And so we stopped and asked, like, there was like a guide who worked for like Lulworth Cove Estate there. We were like, is there like a specific reason for this? And it's a Bollywood filming site.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so they all come down apparently and do like the dance on the beach
That's
from
cool.
like the classic one. Yeah, so cool. Um, so that was really interesting because like that was honestly like so many, and it really interesting as well because we were just talking in the car before we got there about the fact that like lots of um people with like Asian ethnicity don't often go into the countryside because it's not deemed as like safe because it's not something they would do in their like home countries, especially alone. And then all of a sudden there was these like Indian women. So that's what we were like just a bit confused as to like what was going on. But yeah, so interesting. Deadwood is a Bollywood filming site.
There we go. Learn something new every day, eh?
Yeah, and then yeah, went into Dorchester, which was cute, and then stayed. We went to Falkner Regis because basically Dad watched this YouTube video that was like, that was like the worst seaside resort supposedly in the UK, and it was Bognor Regis. And neither of us
Okay.
had ever been, so we were like, well, let's go see for ourselves. So we went to Bognor Regis.
Do you know what's so weird is that, do you know that like whole theory, and my sister always harps on about it. Do you know that whole theory? Yeah, sorry, Mitra always goes on about it, where like when something like comes into your like orbit, you like start to hear about it all the time, or like it kind of
Mm.
comes up over and over. That's the third time I've heard about Bognor Regis in the last 24 hours, and I don't know if I've ever heard about it
Really?
before. Yeah, it was like
That's
on a
so weird.
it was like on a podcast that I was listening to earlier, and where did I see it yesterday? Maybe a post or something on Instagram. And like I just don't think I'd ever heard of it as a place before. Yeah, and that's the third time now.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
But
that's so
yes, we
interesting.
stayed there. Because there's a Butlins there, which I didn't realise. But yeah, we went down onto the like beach. Do you know what? It's not actually as bad as everyone makes out to be. And you can hire deck chairs for the whole day for £3. Where in the
Wow.
world can you do that now? Probably nowhere.
Agreed. Probably nowhere. You're probably right.
So yeah, and then drove to Brighton and watched my sis run, and it was well hot,
Nice.
bless her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but she finished it, so
Amazing. Well done, her. I
that's the
mean,
main thing.
finish a
That's the
marathon.
main thing.
Amazing.
And it puts you in something like 0.5% of the population or something ridiculous.
And it's part of the population that I will never be in.
No, I know. Although I have to say, being there, I was like, maybe I do want to do this again.
Oh, God. Well, I thought you were up into the whole 7 or whatever the thing is.
Yeah, but I just didn't really know if I want to do that 7 because, like, when do I ever fit the norm? I'm kind of thinking maybe like one in each continent because I did find that. Do you remember that South African one that you said you were going to just drive in the Jeep next to me? There's like one in South Africa for listeners, where you basically run through a game reserve, and I just think that would be insane.
And then the idea is that I would go with her, but I would just drive while she runs.
You could be
Because
my
obviously I won't be
support.
running. Obviously I won't be running. I would do a half. I just don't want to do a full.
But also, sorry, you have been running recently. I haven't run since October.
Have I been running recently? I mean, like, yeah, I guess.
I guess.
I get out there, I run. I mean, that's the thing with surfing, isn't it? I don't have to do any other form of exercise, which is great.
Yeah, true. But yeah, that was my weekend, and it's just made me want to do some more exploring the UK. Nice little UK road
Yeah,
trip.
nice.
It was so
Sorry,
cute.
this is a complete side note and won't interest any of the listeners. But yesterday I went to Alistair was doing his yoga teacher training.
Yes, it was so great.
And he had his like, I don't know, test or graduation class yesterday. So I went and he taught me yoga.
Yeah, so cute. I saw that. Amazing.
Yeah.
Bless him.
I know. So that was very cute.
And you wouldn't
Anyway,
have that if you weren't in Shargal.
Exactly. And he wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me. So, as he tells everybody, which is quite a funny story.
I know. Crazy.
But should we get into this week's theme?
Yeah, considering we've already been chatting for 20 minutes.
Yeah, great. That's the caffeine. Okay, guys, so this week we're going to talk all about backpacking Europe because obviously Euro summer is coming up. This is something that I have next to zero knowledge on, so it is very much so going to be an Abby Chapman episode.
We did a little bit together last year. Last year.
I mean, what, Liechtenstein and Munich?
Yeah, we had a great time, guys.
We did have a great time, probably too much of a great time. And some of the stories from that will never resurface. God.
We had such a good time. But yes, backpacking Europe any time of the year, really.
Yes.
Well,
obviously, if you guys have been listening, Abby's been ticking off European destinations for the last 14 months now. So yeah. For that reason, we've decided that she is the authority on backpacking Europe.
Backpacking Europe, yeah. And I feel like it's kind of coming back as a thing, even for maybe older people. When I say older people, I mean anyone that's not around university age. As a kind of thing in Europe that people do. So I guess the big thing that everyone thinks of first when they think about backpacking Europe is interrailing. That's kind of what everybody calls it, right?
Did you do that?
No, I've never actually interrailed, the classic interrail.
Yeah, Mitra did it, but I didn't do it.
Yeah, but then I guess it depends because technically I guess I did it in Italy last summer when I went. Because basically interrail is a company. It's kind of become one of those terms like Google where everyone's yeah, I'm interrailing, but you might not even be necessarily using the interrail pass.
I didn't the interrail was a company.
Yeah. So the interrail pass is basically a company that sorts out your travel for you. So you can basically and by rail like is literally train. So you can basically get a like interrail pass for like X number of days or whatever it is, or like so many countries, and that's what you use to then hop on and off trains around like Europe. And like you can get them for specific countries, or you can kind of get them for like across the board. And that's kind of where like the term interrailing came from. Now, it, don't quote me on this because like it's not something I've actually like technically used, like the actual company, but I have heard from like people who have done it like in like the past 5 years that the Interrail pass isn't necessarily the cheapest way to do it these days, especially now that there's like better coach companies and stuff like that out there, that sometimes it is, you can do it like cheaper in other ways. But that is kind of, I would say that's always like a good starting point to kind of get a bearing on prices, if you wanted to do like a price comparison. And you'll find that in some places the train takes just as long as the coach, or maybe the coach is quicker. It just depends on what the train system is within certain countries. Like Italy, for instance, like one of the best ways to travel is by train, and so it can be beneficial there. But also, it might be cheaper to just book tickets individually than get like the Interrail pass. So that's like big thing number one. Then obviously, the thing I find really interesting about Europe and backpacking Europe is like there is just such a mix of ages and like reasons for people being there, and that's the thing that like I really love. Like obviously you still get your like around uni, like finishing school to like finishing uni, like backpackers that have like chosen to go to like interrailing around Europe rather than like to Asia or Australia or whatever they're doing. And they like still exist. Like my cousin just did it last summer and she absolutely loved it. But you also have like there's so many Kiwis and Aussies that have like come over to do their like Europe summer. You have like obviously people from the States, like people from kind of all over, and some of them are there and remote working. So there's definitely like lots of like co-working spaces and kind of co-working hostel vibes. There's also people that are literally just there on holiday, because accommodation is obviously that bit more expensive in Europe than say further afield. You'll find that people who have backpacked in the past will go and just stay in hostels, because it is kind of the most affordable way to do it.
Yeah, to be fair, like I feel like whenever I've stayed in hostels in Europe, it's always you do always just have like so many like holiday goers as well. Like,
Yeah,
and I feel like Iceland is like such a good example because obviously it's so expensive there. So when I was there, like staying in a hostel, but like what I do find interesting is that because it's like a reason for people that have like come over to like save money, the whole concept of like hostel etiquette out the window, you know, that like just simply doesn't exist because these are people that like aren't obviously used to ever sharing spaces.
yeah, yeah, which is quite frustrating. So I feel like you have to be quite picky with like the hostels you choose, because you kind of have to choose one that is a bit more backpackery, which perhaps isn't something me and Shireen would necessarily do anymore, because actually then you get the people following like the hostel etiquette, which is
So fair.
quite crazy. Um, but yeah, so there'll be lots of people that are just on holiday, and there'll be like working professionals and people that have like normal in inverted commas jobs, that have just decided like, oh, they've got a spare 3 days, they're gonna nip to
Wherever.
somewhere in Europe, but they're gonna stay in a hostel because it's kind of like the most affordable way to do it. And that I find like really interesting, but also it's amazing because you meet like lots of different kinds of people. I mean, I went to Latvia last September, and of like the people like I hung out with when I was there was a travel influencer from the US. There was a guy that had literally just taken 2 weeks off his job to come to like Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. There was a guy who worked for an American company, a Mexican guy for an American company that had flown over and was working remote, but was working like still US hours in Latvia. There was an American guy that was looking at moving to Europe, so was doing like a little bit of a recce. And there was a guy that was in the RAF. So for all of the people that aren't British, it's the Royal Air Force in the UK, in the RAF, and he was just had like a few days leave, and it was like his third or fourth time going to Latvia, and basically he was just doing lots of like little trips in and out and finding which countries he really liked. So like you get like I'm sorry, in that list none of them were the like classic backpacker. So you get like lots of different kinds of people in European hostels, which like I truly love, because I know obviously you say you meet people in like different walks of life when you're backpacking, but I think that's like almost to a new extreme when you're in Europe, or like kind of like more developed countries, I guess, because and I guess Europe to the UK, because it is so close, and Europe to the rest of Europe is so close that people can just nip across for a few days here and a few days there. Have you got any questions for me, Shireen?
So no, but I was gonna say what like is quite interesting. Like I feel like there's like a lot of Americans go to Europe,
Mm,
and but like at like as in the like nomad, like they nomad out of Europe versus like I
mm,
guess in the same way that like we would come to Asia, they would go to Europe,
yeah.
because you're kind of talking about similar time zone differences,
Mm-hmm.
like that kind of
Yeah,
5 to 7 hour difference. So like yeah, I feel
yeah,
like
yeah,
there
yeah.
is a lot of Americans. No, what I actually was going to say though was um that we say about meaning all walks of life, and I was thinking about Wes, our little American buddy, who you said is now looking at remote working, which
He
obviously,
is remote
so
working.
he is remote working, because obviously when we met him in Munich last year, there was like no, like he was like so hard on his job, like as in like loved his
So
job, loved
hard in
his
on this job.
like loved his job, loved his life, and then like came to Europe for 2 weeks, or no, he was coming for
Literally
a little
10
bit long.
days, 10
Oh, it was
days.
10 days. And within that 10 days, and now he fully just like starts working remotely online, which is just so funny.
I know. And I think she just hadn't considered it before. And then obviously having lots of
Yeah.
chats with us,
But
it
I feel like that
was,
is such a huge thing. I mean, sorry, I'm going off topic, but like I feel like that's such a
mm,
huge thing. I feel like people don't realize that things like that people do actually
yeah.
travel. Like, as in, because like I get it all the time, like in Ireland especially. And like I was thinking, like I think it's going to be super interesting to see like when I go to the weddings this summer, because especially
Mm.
um one of like one of my best friends, like her wedding, but like she'll have like a few of the Dell VPs there that I obviously used to
Oh my
work
God, yeah,
for.
so
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry, we haven't talked
interesting.
about this, but yeah. So I used to like as in the two that I used to work directly for will be there. Um, and obviously I haven't seen them in 4 years. And like when I left, I obviously again left for like 6 months. And obviously she's told them what happened, like they know what I'm doing or whatever. But it'll be so interesting to see. But I know for a fact when I tell them what I do in my life, they're gonna be like, "That's not real." Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
like they very much so come from, and kind of similar to Wes, like comes from a world where like you work your nine
It
to
isn't
five,
real.
and I mean them
Yeah.
being older as well, but like, do you know what I mean? That this is not real. And I'm like, no, no, no. I like fully support
Mm.
myself, make my own money, run a whole business, and travel the world. And you're
I'm
like,
also,
no.
I'm so interested to see like how you get on with them and stuff as well, because obviously like you're not the Shireen from the corporate world anymore.
I know. I think it's going to be so interesting, like what I guess like how they perceive me, because like
Yeah.
obviously I am so different to the person that I was 4 years ago. Um, But yeah, yeah, yeah. And then also, like, I guess the other thing as well is that like 4 years ago they were my VPs, directors, VPs. And as much as like I got on really, really well with them, they were always like they were like my
Yeah.
bosses. Whereas now, like not only are they not my bosses, but like because I'm not even like I feel like if I was still in the industry, it'd be a bit different, because you kind of always have like. Whereas now I'm like, oh
Yeah.
mate, like you literally couldn't have less of an impact on my life now
Yeah.
anymore. So yeah, I just think it'd be super interesting to see, and also how they act with me, knowing the same vice versa. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in,
Yeah, 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 for sure.
I'm not a potential that like, I'm gonna end up working for them again. Anyway, I think it's gonna be super. That wedding's gonna be so interesting. I have specifically asked that I'm nowhere near their table though.
Fair.
Like I say, because great to see them, but like don't want to be that close to them. Do you know? Which I think is
Yeah,
fair.
for sure.
Which I think is fair.
I also
Anyway,
think
back
the
to
thing
you.
that's
Oh, go
really
on.
no. The thing that's really interesting about Wes as well is like he worked in a career where he didn't think it would be possible to go remote. And then obviously, as soon as he started asking the questions, he figured out that he could do that. And I mean, currently at the minute, he is tied to working like US hours. But I mean, that's possible to do in Europe. Like my sister's boyfriend works for an American company and works American hours. So like from
But you can
Europe, that is
also, but
possible
you
to
can
do.
also do all of Central and South America on that as well.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
exactly.
It's
And
basically
so
just
that's
Asia and
like,
Australia that you can't really do on American
yeah,
hours unless you want to be
completely.
working through the night. Anyway,
Yeah.
back to backpacking Europe because obviously I've gone off on a tangent. What was I going to ask you was getting around. What was I going to ask you? Oh yeah, so like, do you with the like obviously like being different, like I guess he's saying like all walks of life kind of people. Do you find that like from a social aspect, there's a difference in backpacking Europe versus say Central America, Southeast Asia?
I think it is different in like some respects, but not others. And I also think it depends on the destination. So, like, for instance, some countries are just like a bit more chill for like backpackers, as in it's not like you can always find a party if you want a party, but I would say in some countries it's like less of a thing.
For example,
Um, for example, like Lithuania, like you definitely could find a party if you want to. And I met a guy in Bulgaria who did like a year abroad there, and he literally like partied his whole time. So like you can, but I do find it interesting from like a backpacking point of view. I feel like there are destinations where people go for the party, and there are destinations that people go to kind of just chill. And then there's like the destinations where you can do a bit of both. So like again, for instance, going back to Latvia, if I wanted to, I could have, but I like kind of chose I did and I didn't. Like one night I had like a big night. And then the next night it was like super chill. And so like and I guess also like it depends on the hostel you stay in as well. So like
well, always, right?
I very much there stayed in a party hostel where I turned up and they tried to give me a shot on entry. And I was kind of like, have I made a bad decision here? But actually, it turned out to be absolutely fine because it was like one of those ones where you can like join in if you want to, but everyone's respectful if you don't want to.
Was that the one where there was
Um,
the guy was asleep in the reception?
yes, that one. Yes, that one. And he'd literally got back from his night out at like 2 p.m. or something.
Yeah. And he was asleep sitting up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah, so I think it does like it fully does depend on like the destination you're in and the hostel you stay in. Like honestly, the hostel you stay in, like you can always find a party hostel if that's what you want, but then you can always find like something a bit more chill that's kind of 50-50 or something that's like completely not that, if you want to. And yeah, I guess it depends completely as to what you want. The thing that
There you go.
no, the thing that I find interesting is like, especially as like someone from the UK who can just like nip to Europe. There's some certain countries that I have very much backpacked in, and there's certain countries that I very much haven't. So like, I've actually never been a backpacker in Portugal. I've never been a backpacker in Spain. I've never been a backpacker in France because there, and to be honest, Italy as well. Like I didn't stay in any hostels in Italy. So like those four countries
Yeah, I
where I
haven't been a
have
backpacker
actually
in any of
seen
those.
no, those four countries which I've seen a hell of a lot of, I've kind of done them more as holidays, whereas like the rest of Europe, I've kind of more backpacked. And I guess maybe that's partly because like as a Brit, they're the ones you classically go on holiday to, and like the other countries less so, so they're the ones I've kind of been to on my own. But yeah.
Yeah, and then what I was gonna say was so I think like such a big thing for like backpacking Europe is like the perceived like safety of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like people are like, will want to go to Europe versus going to Asia, or like want to go to Europe versus going to like Central America. And like, I'm not saying it's not safe, just by the way. But what I am saying is like, in your experience, like, what do you like? Like, do you feel like you feel more comfortable when you're in Europe versus when you're somewhere else? Where, say, for example, in
No.
Central America.
No, I wouldn't say I've necessarily felt safer in any of the countries than in like other regions of the world. And I don't know whether that's because like backpacking Europe came after. I don't know. But I wouldn't say like I'd step out into a country in Europe and go, yes, I feel so much more safer. And like I also don't want to like freak anybody out, but like to caveat this, like we have a friend that literally had all of his belongings stolen on a train, like literally everything. And was like stuck in a country in Europe for like 2 weeks while he waited for a new passport because everything got taken off him on a train. So like
Well, I mean,
it can happen anywhere.
so do you know? I mean, I know you don't really follow travel influencers, but like a really, really famous one, Fleetwood Jack.
Yes.
So he had all his belongings stolen in
Yes.
Portugal, including
Oh yeah, I
his
forgot about that.
yeah, including his camera with like 3 years of footage. Now, why that wasn't backed up, I don't
Yeah.
know. But like all his footage from like Africa was like taken on my camera. But yeah, he was in Portugal. He got all of his stuff stolen. So
Yeah. So it literally can happen anywhere. And like, obviously, there is this like perceived like safety thing. And I don't know whether it's like safety of the specific country or safety because it's like closer to home or safety because like UK and Ireland have like reciprocal, well, obviously you're still part of the EU, but like the UK still has a reciprocal agreement with like healthcare and stuff. So I don't really know exactly what it is that people like caveat like the
I
safety
guess
thing with,
also like
but
the distance is obviously a big one as well. Like being able to get there and back in 2 hours, you know?
just repeat that. I lost you for a second there.
Sorry, I was going to say the distance is also like another big one. Like being able to get there and back in 2 hours is such a huge thing.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that definitely is a thing. But yeah, I also want to say, and I didn't say this after this, there is still a massive backpacking community in Portugal, Spain, France, and Italy. Just to throw that out there. But like the other thing is as well is you'll find, especially if you're traveling with other people, it actually sometimes is cheaper to get an Airbnb or a hotel than it is to stay in a hostel. Just
I
because
mean,
they are that
Portugal
bit more
is
expensive.
such a huge spot for nomads.
Oh my god, yeah, massive, 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 massive. Um, and like I have friends that have done like summer seasons down in like Lagos and stuff. So like it is a super fun place to be as like a backpacker. They're just not locations that I specifically have been as a backpacker. Um, but
Okay,
yeah, any other
the other
questions?
thing, yeah, so the other thing, I guess, obviously backpacking Europe again versus, places that we've backpacked together potentially is the expense of it. Like obviously Europe is a hell of a lot more expensive than Southeast Asia or
Hmm.
than Central America. So like, do you have any advice, tips, tricks on like how to make it more affordable to actually backpack Europe?
Yeah, so I guess one of the big differences is most hostels in Europe have a kitchen, so you can cook for yourself, and that straight away just makes things better for you because money will go further than eating out all the time. Because obviously, like eating out in Europe is more expensive.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, if you just cook for yourself, that straight away makes things better. And then there's like certain ways you can get around stuff. So there'll be like anyone that's heard of City Pass is like I guess like a ticket, and it can be for like multiple days or like an individual day where you can see lots of different sites for like a price. And I haven't used them in many places around the world, but in some countries, depending on what you want to do, sometimes getting the city pass is actually cheaper. So like I've used it in New York, I've used it in a couple of um countries in Europe, and it just means that you can see everything you want to see just for less than if you bought each individual ticket separately. So that's quite a good one to look at. And it might be that you might not necessarily want to do the stuff on that list, so that's fine. But if it is, and you'll also find as well that like lots of stuff you can do in Europe is actually free. Because lots of it's kind of like seeing the outside of something and like walking around a city or like um you can do like free walking tours. And I just want to caveat with a free walking tour, it's tip based, so please do tip the guides because that is their income. But it's tip based on kind of what you can afford slash what you think it's worth. And obviously that will vary from country to country depending on like the expense of the country. But yeah, these are like all things that are like free in inverted commas with the free walking tour, but there's lots of free things you can do. And you'll find with like a lot of cities as well, like most of them aren't sprawling, so you can kind of walk everywhere. Or if they are sprawling, getting transport isn't actually super expensive. Just obviously if you're getting like Ubers everywhere, that might be a bit different.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So like cooking for your own meals, like checking out if there's like cheaper ways to see like different like sites and stuff, and yeah, taking public transport. I was kind of saying the three kind of main ones for me. And the other thing is as well in terms of like SIM cards, obviously you can get local SIMs, but I would say like what's pretty good with the whole of Europe now. So like I don't know if Ireland does this, but like in the UK, for instance, if you get like a UK SIM, you can use it anywhere in Europe with like data roaming.
Yeah. Well, in
so like for
Ireland,
instance,
because Ireland's part of the EU, there's no difference.
great, stunning. So that's the thing, you can just get a SIM in one country and then pretty much use it everywhere else. And like obviously that like my sim is I would say a bit more expensive than kind of Asia and Central America, but I wouldn't say like massively more expensive. So I would just get one from like a European provider, but maybe do your research beforehand to see what's kind of like the best in terms of the countries you're going to.
And then if you're from the UK, what's like the visa situation now in Europe?
So they've so very interestingly, last April there was meant to be a visa that came in where we were meant to pay like X amount for the year to visit Europe, and it hasn't happened yet. So I keep checking because obviously I'm flying in and out of Europe quite a lot at the minute, and I don't want it to like come into effect and I get stuck. Whereas for Europeans flying the other way now, there is a visa. I think it's like,
No
I can't remember
way.
exactly how much it is. Yeah, I can't remember exactly how much it is to fly in, but the UK have just introduced one. But they've had the like metric machines for ages for getting these visas, and I've seen them in lots of European airports. It just hasn't been introduced yet, so I'm not really
Okay.
sure what's happening there. But currently, it doesn't cost us anything to fly to Europe.
And then there's
But I think
limitations
that
of
is
how long you
subject to
can stay in
change.
certain places, right?
Yeah, so for anywhere in like the Schengen zone, we can only visit for 90 days and 180 days, which is kind of annoying. But there is talks going on supposedly to change that for like 18 to 30-year-olds.
Okay.
Although I would like to see that change for like 18 to 35-year-olds, considering like we've lost 5 years, you know?
Fair.
Or we've lost, lost about 5 years. So so that there is talks about that, to have freedom of movement for like our age, to kind of get people being able to work abroad again. But I don't know if or when that will come into effect. So at the minute, it's kind of business as usual for us flying to Europe, other than we get stamps in our passport now. And obviously, limited days that you can travel for.
And
But I would say still like
obviously if you're Irish, you don't have to worry about any of this. We're
no.
not idiots.
Um, yeah, I know, I know, I know. Let's not get into Brexit on this podcast. um, but yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, the other thing I was going to say as well is there's like quite a lot of countries where you can do two destinations in one day. So for instance, like I've crossed the border from Slovakia into Austria and done a day trip. Another example would be like Finland to Estonia. You can get a ferry across. There's and like Albania, you can cross to Greece. there's like lots of different countries where you can do sorry, when I say do 2 destinations in a day, I'm also meaning like big capital cities or well-known cities that people would want to like visit. I'm not talking just like a random little town near the border vibe. So yeah, definitely whenever you're hitting like different destinations, do your research, because it might be that you could take like a cheeky wee road trip, or like bus or train into like a neighboring country and hit another destination, which is like quite a cool thing that you can do. And the other thing I want to caveat, especially like flying from the UK, is that so I live in Devon. My local airport is Exeter Airport, and we currently fly to 5 destinations, which I'm glad that we have that, because it used to be worse than that. But like my next best airport is Bristol. Bristol Airport, you can fly to quite a lot of destinations in Europe, but a lot of them, they're like seasonal. So for some destinations, you can only fly through like the spring and summer months. So I find quite a lot that I'm having to drive to like Luton or Stansted to be able to get a flight now to a destination that I haven't been to before. So maybe factor that in, or like I don't know, if you are like interrailing or like backpacking through, like obviously you can fly in and out of countries that are easier to access from like an airport near you, and then kind of travel the other countries in between. And obviously there's lots of like itineraries for like 10 days in Europe, 10 days in this country, a month in Europe, online. And I love Broke Backpacker, for those kind of itineraries.
The last one, but of the places that you kind of like been on your little Europe tour in the last year, where maybe two that you think that like everybody should go, or like there are two top ones?
2 top ones that everyone should go to. I guess it depends what you're going for, because like
Okay, well, what maybe just your two favorite then?
the thing is, it's tricky because like Prague and Budapest I absolutely loved, but they're like cool anyway, but they're also like quite big party scenes. And so like I met loads of people there, friends that I still stay in touch with now. So like love them for that specific reason. And the cities were beautiful, but I would say that was like the reason that I loved them. Um Whereas like I recently went to Estonia, which like I absolutely loved. But again, love that for a different reason, because like we ate lots of like really great food, and it's like had quite a young population, which I wasn't necessarily expecting, and there's like so much history there. But then like two actual Porto, absolutely love Porto, like 100% would head there. I did get food poisoning and I did miss my flight, but it was still one of my fave places I've been to, so I highly
Those
recommend
things
that one.
happen, and you're still raving about it as one of your favorite places. I feel like that really
Yeah,
says a lot about it, you know?
it's just beautiful and just so chill. And I just love Portugal in general. Like Portugal is one of my fave countries in Europe. Like I've spent so much time there. So definitely there. I'm not sure what it's like as a backpacker destination, but if you are heading to Portugal, Lagos is a massive backpacking destination, so that there too. Um, and then I just don't really know. Like I loved Italy. Rome is amazing, but don't go in summer because it's so busy. It's just not enjoyable.
I would say just don't go to Italy in
Um,
summer.
yeah, oh my god, literally do not go to Italy in summer. Honestly, PTSD. Krakow's amazing because obviously you can go and see you go see Auschwitz, which is obviously like an interesting thing to go and do. The Netherlands, I love Utrecht, which is like an hour from Amsterdam. It's basically like Amsterdam without the tourists. Vienna's stunning. Like just like the history in the buildings, like the architecture is just unreal. Paris is obviously great. Like you've got the Eiffel Tower, you've got the Louvre. Like, I feel like if you're like an artsy person, that's a good one to go to. Just Bulgaria in general, if you like hiking. Like Sofia is a city I didn't necessarily like love, but it's so easy to be able to get out and go hiking around the city. This is the problem. There's like so many great ones. Like I
I
loved it
know.
when we went to Geneva. Like Geneva was beautiful and amazing in
Yeah.
summer. Um Bratislava is like super interesting, and yeah, you can zip across the border to Vienna in a day. Malta as a country is amazing, and I feel like because it's so small, you can hire a car and drive around and see lots of places. Like there is just, this is the thing with Europe, we're like so lucky that we have all these destinations on our doorstep to visit in such a, and you don't need that much time. Obviously, if you have the time, amazing, you can see more of these countries, but you can just nip for a few days here and there.
Yeah, I think it's so accessible, especially for people that like are working like 9 to 5 jobs, kind of a thing, to be able to like
Yeah,
nip across for the weekend and stuff.
yeah. And especially if you live in, say, London, you can get a flight on a Friday night and get a flight on like a Sunday night or even a Monday morning, you know? So
Literally, it's so easy.
it's so easy. Yeah, go to Europe, guys. There's so much to see. But I guess the other thing I want to say as well is obviously Europe changes because like any country changes, but it doesn't necessarily change at like the same rate as a developing country. So for me personally, like obviously I've been visiting Europe because I've been back in the UK and I've needed to keep my sanity, so I've been going to Europe. But if I wasn't wanting to be in the UK now for like various reasons, Europe wouldn't necessarily be the destinations I'd be choosing to go to right now, because again, they're very much set up for all ages. Like you'll find retired people in hostels, and I know you find that in other areas of the world, but definitely less so. So like
It's a
I
lot more
wouldn't say, I mean,
accessible.
for sure. And like, I mean, who knows what's happening, and if World War III is going to break up, perhaps some of Europe won't be the same again anytime soon. And that's kind of why I went to some of the countries I went to last year. But at the same time, like, I don't think it is changing that dramatically. And these like amazing destinations and like beautiful sites that we've all heard about will still be there to see in a few years if you're wanting to travel further afield sooner.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Um,
definitely the reason why I haven't. I mean, to be fair, I've done quite a lot
exactly.
of Europe as it is, but like a lot of
Yeah.
like Eastern Europe that I haven't done. Like, I'm just
Yeah,
not that pushed about
exactly.
doing it right now.
Exactly. Because realistically, it's probably not, hopefully, touch wood, not going to change that
Exactly.
drastically. Yeah.
And it's so, and it's like kind of when you're maybe potentially less mobile, a lot more likely to be able to, go to Latvia than I will be to be able to go hiking in Pakistan, for example.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. But I tell you what, like having traveled more of Europe, and I think the thing that's really nice about also doing like a city break to say like a capital city or a well-named
yes,
city, you then learn more about the rest of the country. So now I have all these other destinations that I want to head back to. But the nice thing
100%.
obviously about the fact that like I live in the UK is that I can just nip across and go to that place for like a few days still. Whereas obviously like any Kiwis, Aussies, Americans, whatever else listening to this, it's kind of quite a long way to come for just a few days. So
You're taking as much of it as possible. Well, that's what
yeah.
like. So when I first moved to London, I like lived with a Kiwi guy, and then like by because of that, like I ended up at like around a lot of Kiwis all of the time. But like their whole thing was come to London, live there for 2 years, and then like twice a month they were in a different European city, and they basically did like
Mm,
all of Europe in 2 years, and then went back to New Zealand.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I mean,
So
that's kind of what I did when I was at uni, because I was in Birmingham, and I was close to like a big airport. Every month I went away to a new country because it was literally on my doorstep and I could, you know. Whereas like
yeah,
obviously from Devon it's a hell of a lot harder.
100%, 100%. Okay, I feel like that's probably it on backpacking Europe, unless there's anything else you wanna.
I guess the only other thing is like currency. Currency, like obviously a lot of Europe does use the euro, but there are lots of countries that also don't. So just do your research. But obviously, like most places take card now. Um, like if you want to carry cash, you can, and there will be some occasions where you need cash. But generally speaking, majority of places will take card. Um, but just bear in mind that like the currency does change, even though like when people think of Europe, they think of the euro.
100%.
And
Especially
and
like
in
it because like, especially when they're going to your EU countries, they just assume euro, which is not the case.
yeah, completely. And also like plugs, like still have an international adapter, because not everywhere is the EU plug. Some places are like UK, some places or whatever. So yeah, just make sure you've still got an international adapter, because depending on what nations you're going to, depends on what adapter you'll need.
Amazing. All right, wrap it up, Abs.
Wow, thanks so much for listening to just me talk for nearly an hour. Me and Shireen are going to go to Europe this summer when she's back in the UK.
Yes, we just need to pick where we're going to go. I really want to do Albania. Oh, wait, and also Romania, right?
I want to go to Romania. My thing with Albania is like that's a longer stretch of time, and I don't want to go in summer. Like you either want it, we can go in September if you want, but I'm not going in the height of summer because it will be hell.
Yeah, that's so fair. That's so fair. So we're going to do Romania, is it?
Yeah, because I think we can do that for like a short trip.
Okay, perfect. See you in Romania then.
Okay. Yeah, thanks so much for listening to me chat about Europe. Obviously, as always, please like, subscribe, share us on your socials, tell all your travel obsessed friends about us, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.